So I was sick for close to a week, and I was doing some work out in the garage while I was sick, which, you know, probably wasn't a good idea. And I was frustrated and I wasn't watching what I was doing. And as you just saw, I sheared one of the studs off of one of the front struts. And this was the last one I had to put together. I hear the autofocus doing a lot of stuff. Hopefully it's staying in focus. But this was the last thing I needed to do over here, which makes it really frustrating because the front struts, I do have to put spring compressors on to get them on. I had everything perfectly set up, back up inside it, and my own carelessness tried to torque the stud to 50 pound-feet instead of 15, and I sheared it off. So today, we're gonna learn how to replace a stud in a top hat, which I did a little bit of reading about it, and it doesn't sound hard, and I can probably get a stud out of one of the old top hats. So probably not that big of a deal, just frustrating because I was almost done with the suspension and can move on to other stuff. The garage is very dirty right now. I have a lot of simultaneous projects going on, and then somebody I know asked me to do the struts on their car. So I did that. So I've got an extra project worth of things in the garage right now. Small project, but installing pre-made struts is way easier than putting them together yourself. But of course, buying performance ones, unless you get coilovers, is a bit harder. So anyway, that's where we're at today. I'm going to try to fix the stud and then see what else I can move on to. Maybe mud flaps, maybe brake pads. I don't know, bunch of other stuff. First autocross is in about 5 weeks. I want to have this on the road well before then. I'd like to have it on the road in about 2 weeks. I still need to do all the fluids, put the sway bar back on after I clean it up, lots of intake pieces, exhaust pieces, like got a ton to go. So let's get to it. All right, so this top spins pretty freely. I'm trying to decide if I can do this without having to take the top hat off. I know I can do it with the top hat off. I already did a test getting a stud out of one of the old ones, but I was hoping to do it with the top hat on so I don't have to put on the spring compressors and redo everything, but I am not really seeing a way to do that unless I can get it into the vise and pop it out that way. So I'm gonna try that. I'm not sure how to film that, but we're gonna give it a shot, and if that doesn't work, I'll just put the spring compressors on and do it right. So I actually wasn't expecting this to work as well as it did, but there's the broken stud. I was able to put another stud against it like that and then just push it out the back with the vise. So that actually worked out pretty well. And then you saw I went ahead and took the rest of the top hats, the old ones, and hammered the studs out. I mean, you know, me hammering them out chews the ends up a little bit. So if I ever need to use them, I'll need to clean them up a little, but I figure better to do that and have them just in case. That way, if I break another stud doing something in the future, at least I have the ability to perhaps fix it if I can clean the threads up on one of these, file down the rough edges, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, I think I haven't really damaged the threads too badly on any of these. They seem like they're okay. So I'm going to put one of these back in and put the stud or put the strut back in the car, and instead of it taking me an hour or so to fix this, maybe it's only going to take me like 20 minutes, not including stopping to film stuff. Okay, that actually ended up not taking as long as I thought it was going to, because I was able to just put the stud like back into the strut without having to take everything apart. So that went really well. It's not even noon yet, so I mean, I didn't really start working out here early, but I'm trying to think what else I want to do today. I'd like to finish up the wheel wells, so I'm thinking I may go ahead and do brake pads and maybe the mud flaps. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get those done and then see what time it is and see how we're doing. All right, up next, we're going to clean off the sway bar here, see if we can figure out what brand it is, get the rust off, clean it up to maybe paint it at some point. I don't know. It looks like it was originally blue, which may help when I'm trying to figure out more about it, but let's clean it. Okay, we're on a little bit of a roll today, so we're gonna keep going. Up next is the mud flaps. These are Rally Armor. I'll put a link in the description. I've got rock blocks on the GTI and I've been very happy with those. But these ones, because they're black with a black logo, which you can kind of see a little bit, they're significantly cheaper. They were almost like half the price. And for doing what they're doing, I don't really care if there's a color logo on them versus, you know, just black. So they mount up like that. I've got to get the fender well, or the fender lining off, the trim piece off, and get everything set up. It's not excessively difficult. It's just, you know, a little bit laborious. So I'll set the camera up so you can see what I'm doing, but you know, this part isn't particularly interesting, but let's go ahead and get these things on. All right, well, today, all things considered, was a very good day. Fixed the strut and learned a new way to get a stud out without having to take the whole thing apart. Got the suspensions all done. Brake pads are done. I am gonna bleed the brake fluid at some point. Got the mud flaps on, took a bunch of stuff to the dump, which isn't necessarily a huge part of this video, but it always helps to be able to clean the garage out a little bit. And then, yeah, the mud flaps. So all that went really well. I was underneath the car just a few minutes ago making plans for pulling out the downpipe, and I think I'm gonna have to jack it up higher for both the downpipe and for draining all the fluids out of it. I also, anybody who's really familiar with WRXs, maybe you can help me with this. On the CV boot that's right underneath the steering rack, so on the driver's side, there is a dark green milky liquid, looks like it's been sprayed around in there. So my first thought was, is that like coolant and oil mixed together? And I'm not sure it is, because I only see it on the U-joints in the steering column. I see a little bit on the CV boot where it looks like it was sprayed there, and I don't really see it anywhere else. I don't see it seeping out of the engine anywhere. It's an old engine, so you know, there's little bits of oozing and stuff a few different places, but I'm not seeing that liquid anywhere else. So I'm wondering, is it possible that that's coming out of the power steering rack? I can't quite see the rack, but it looks like the rack has a little bit of that on it. So it's coming from somewhere around that area, but it's not on the engine itself as far as I can see. So if you know what that is, let me know. But otherwise, it was a good day. Oh, I cleaned up the sway bar. That's right, the rear sway bar. Pressure washed that, let it dry. I think I'm gonna hit it with a wire wheel next and see what I can do there. It looks like it was light blue, so I'll do a little bit of research, see if I can figure out which sway bar it was. I'm trying to decide when I put it back on, should I go for the stiffest setting or the medium setting first? I'm leaning towards medium just because I don't know how the car handles yet, and no reason adding something that's like stiffer than spec before I know if I need that, because I could just be making the car worse without knowing why. So with the goal of the car being neutral and as stock as possible while I learn it, I think I might leave it alone in the middle setting for now. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it for this weekend. I might come out and organize the garage some. After I took all that stuff to the dump, I now have way more room in here. It looks a lot better. But I still have to put away all of the sockets and everything I needed for the suspension. So I may do all that tomorrow, or I may just leave it for now. But major things I still need to do before I want to get the car back on the ground. I want to do transmission fluid, rear diff fluid, oil change, bleed the brakes, bleed the power steering fluid. I want to paint the hood scoop and get some bolts to fasten that down. I got to replace the intake and the intake silencer. I need to put the new MAF in. Ideally, I'm going to do the downpipe, but that could wait a little bit, I guess, if I need to, because that does work fine, other than throwing a code. And then the headlights and the trim pieces. If I can source carpet before then, that'll be good, but the guy I was getting carpet from, that fell through, so I found somebody else who is actually within driving distance, and they might have carpet, so I may be able to do that. But I'm hoping I'm only a couple of weeks away from getting this thing back on the ground and ready to roll, and then I'll have a few weeks to iron out all the kinks for autocross, and then one of the last things I'll be doing is getting new tires, putting them on the WRX wheels, put them back on. I'll just keep driving with the regular Impreza wheels and the all seasons for now. So anyway, thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.